Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First to Third podcast. We're so excited to be here, our first live show. I'm coming to you live from Falls Church, Virginia, just outside of D.C. I got 5 of my great friends alongside. We're going to talk some baseball tonight. I got my brother, who is going to give me the earful if I don't name him first, Robby Swab. We got Drew Dole, Scotty Banks, Ryan Dole, and Berrick Clifton.
Screw this. Now I'm last.
But I'm going to let each one of them take it away, and then I'll come back to me and introduce myself. But welcome along. We're excited to take this journey. I'll pass it on to Scotty here first.
Hey everyone, Scott or Scotty Banks, whichever one you're in the mood for, coming to you from the mountains of North Carolina, near Boone. Just excited to be hanging out with 5 of my best friends and chatting up some baseball and talking about some games that actually matter. So I'll bounce this diagonally up to Drew.
Yeah, my boy Scotty B.
Drew Dole, live from good old heart of where we're all from, Kernersville, North Carolina. Looking forward to chatting it up as the eldest guy on this of us 6. So looking forward to it. I'm going to bounce it down to the guy that makes the most money, I think, Ryan.
I'm Ryan. I'm not disclosing my location right now. I will keep that private. But I will be the guy that will give them the knowledge from inside the game and right around the plate. What are some of the players thinking, and just give my opinion on some of the games going on now. I will bounce it up diagonally to Robby.
Hey, friends. It's awesome to be with you. I am also live. I don't know why we have to feel like we cracked that technology, but all good. I've coached baseball, been around the game for a long time, played at a moderately high level, and have a lot of fun with these guys. And like Drew said, we are all from the wonderful town of Kernersville, North Carolina, or K-Vegas. And so that is our connection. We grew up together and have all been a major part in each other's lives going through. So just love to talk some baseball with my buds. All right, Berrick, you're last.
Name's Berrick.
Lovely.
Oh, anymore. I like the Orioles, which means that I drink heavily. And so let's get this going.
Yeah, so again, welcome in. This is going to be not a strictly Atlanta Braves podcast, but we all are fans of the 2021 World Series champions. And so we'll talk a lot of Brave stuff, but we will tend to our last place team in the AL East here and there to talk about the Orioles and to talk about the rest of the major leagues. So guys, I know a big weekend, opening weekend 2022. A lot of good games on tap. We had our first installment of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. Kind of a doozy. Giancarlo Stanton can absolutely mash.
Lasers.
So, yeah, I guess what are some of the big takeaways you guys have from the weekend, from the week, and how are we feeling about the season so far?
What
At the end of
happened?
the day,
Why
I think you go ahead and say it's early. It's early. So any of our teams that feel like, oh crap, they didn't play very well. It's early. 162 games, 159 something to go.
It's a long season.
It's a long season, right, Berrick? It's a long season.
It made me wonder what was
It's
going
too
on in D.C. and New York, or with D.C. and New York, because it looked like they were already kind of at a mid-season pitch with their animosity towards one another right at the beginning. And I wanted to get y'all's opinion on what that looked like, because it really seemed like, one, I didn't think the umpires handled it well. And I also think Buck Showalter was kind of grandstanding a little bit to protect his guy. I was wondering what you guys thought about the whole animosity in DC versus the Mets.
Well, my animosity in DC is that it's DC, and I have to deal with all of the antics thereof. But yeah, I mean, I would love to hear Ryan's perspective on this. I know that I'm a firm believer in letting the guys police the game themselves, and the umpires need to be kind of out of it, in my opinion. I feel like we lost our way, especially if you look back at what happened with Houston a couple years ago, stealing signs, all that kind of jazz, and you don't let the players police it. And I feel like we got a little bit of it this weekend. And so, yeah, I mean, that's my takeaway from it.
Yeah, I mean, they had 2 guys get hit in the head, right? So that's never great. So I think I can understand some, frustration there. You don't like when people are getting hit consistently. I think that was already the 3rd one, maybe the 4th one of the series. And again, you got two in the head. I think it's one of those things where, the Mets were kind of PO'd about it, but I mean, again, it's early baseball. None of the stuff looked intentional. I agree with Robby. I think Buck Showalter's trying to get out ahead of his season a little bit and, show some of that, fight for the players and that kind of stuff, and which you can't be mad at, I feel like. I mean, that's what he needs to do. He needs, to set a tone early in the season. And, I think whatever he needs to do to put a chip on the Mets' shoulder of, us against the world, that's probably going to help them from just a leadership standpoint, if I had to guess. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
I'm pretty sure the Mets haven't had that where they felt like the managers had their back in, a couple years. So I'm sure that's, Buck showing is saying, hey, I got your back. Don't worry about it. I got you. But, I mean, the other thing is, it wasn't exactly warm this weekend. And, Ryan, as well as I do, you get checked and nobody's got sticky stuff anymore. Or if they ever did have it, nobody's got it anymore. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not fun having 95+ coming at your head.
Nope.
So
you also saw pitch count. You also saw pitch counts down this week. A lot of teams are treating this like their 4th spring training start, and who knows exactly where these pitchers are if they're used to getting 5 or 6 starts before they go, and now you're all of a sudden not in Florida or Arizona.
Sure.
Yep.
Things are going to happen. So
I think for some teams, it's not necessarily like the pitch count. It's more of getting the starters there, like those ups, like each and every up is more important than I think actual pitch count. Because we saw today that with Oakland, Jeffries threw 48 pitches into the 6th inning and got pulled after one batter in the 6th inning, like 48 pitches. So, I mean, I think it's just more about getting ups now than more so not about pitch count, but just about ups now for guys just getting used to getting up and down as many times, especially like this early in the season. Sure. But also, like we saw with the Padres with Manai, 88 pitches, and he's out of there having a no-hitter going, too.
Yeah.
So it's you kind of just wish he would have finished it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure it's got to do with the expanded roster right now, too.
Mm-hmm.
You got more pitchers in the pen than you're going to be in, a couple of weeks when they go down to the normal roster in May. So why not use the extra arms that you have up there and save their bullets for, the dog days versus getting them all out right now?
Ryan, do you think that it has anything to do with the manager might owe some of these pitchers steak dinners because of how well they throw?
No, I don't think that's the case anymore.
I think you should explain what that means, and I actually have the same deal with some of our starting pitchers too. So
I think it was at high school we had the deal if we would throw a complete game in 75 pitches or less.
It was 7 innings in 65 pitches, and 65. You were close. And
I got pulled every time.
You were close 1 or 2 times, and our head coach went out there and pulled you. Yeah. One, I think several times because we were winning by a lot.
Correct. Correct.
Weird.
that sounds like us.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Steak.
I don't have to worry about that with my guys, thank God. We'll go ahead and just pull them out and get somebody else in there.
Yeah. No, I think the weekend was good though. I really enjoyed watching baseball that mattered again. That was really I mentioned it last week when we were kind of chatting on some stuff that I don't know. Spring training was really hard for me to watch this year, just with the games not kind of mattering, and so it was nice kind of having some of that. The Braves. We start out the season, I think, in typical fashion. I will say the Reds are always a hard team to start a season with. They just always play the Braves tough. But Braves sure did swing and miss on a lot of fastballs this weekend. So
they hit a lot of them hard too, though.
They did. But I watched a lot of at bats where we were a tick late. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and throw shade or anything. I mean, they were facing a couple guys throwing 100, 101. So that's also tough to start your season out. We're not full on timing yet. So, but again,
didn't seem to care.
Yeah, Matt Olson today, as Drew said, I think he turned 101 around at 107 and hit a rocket out for his first home run. He had 8 hits on the weekend, which, I mean, sign me up for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Robby, but that's more than Freddie right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be keeping track of that for the rest of the year.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And many years to come.
And Freddie's already got an error, too.
Whoa.
Shots fired. Just kidding. Just facts.
I would have loved to have Freddie, but they made the only move they could have made. And
yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
But hey, Matt Olson endearing himself quite quickly to the home fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
also, real quick, can we talk about the?
Yes, please.
Can we talk about the rings there?
I was just getting ready to ask that. Wow. For those of you who have not seen the ring, go check it out. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on Twitter.
Braves Twitter tweeted it out, so check that out.
Fantastic.
So with the lights and everything, has the ring officially moved from something you just don't wear anymore? Like you're just not going to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is the first one where it's like, okay, like not a single person's ever wearing this.
Yeah.
I would probably wear it. I'm not gonna lie.
It has to weigh like 72 pounds. Like I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I think we found out where all that extra money they got in from revenue went, because good Lord, that's a lot of money for that ring.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, I do like how teams are putting a lot of thought into little details and stuff, though. I thought the 11 rubies strategically placed inside of that for the 11 home runs they hit in the World Series was pretty legit.
Yeah,
I think the 750 diamonds in there as a nod to Hank Aaron. I even loved how they actually put in the one side the brick inlay from the Chop House wall. That was pretty sick. So I love how teams are starting to put all that stuff in there.
Can't forget the one pearl to honor John Peterson as well.
Man. I mean, that's got to be the first championship ring to have a pearl in it ever. So, and probably will be the last, if we're being honest. So,
correct.
First and last.
I thought the "We Are Those" was just a hilarious inclusion on the inscription as well. So, again, I love the thought that's going into these rings now. Like Berrick said, it's 100% no longer an item that can be worn, but definitely something worth showing off for sure. So,
yeah. Did you all hear like Brian Snicker mic'd up during the ring ceremony?
Oh no, I missed
Some
it.
of the things he was saying are hilarious. He was standing next to Alex Anthopoulos, and he leans over and says, "Man, I'm surprised they got your name, they got your full name spelled right on there." And he was talking to Alex Anthopoulos.
That's good.
Anthopoulos, Rosario goes up to get his, and he says, best trade deadline ever, and gives him a big hug. But there was another one. I think Darno had the day off, and Darno goes up there and gets his, and Anthopoulos is like, now I know exactly why you had your day off. You just wanted to wear the ring all night.
I love it.
Come on, wouldn't you? I'd take it.
I really appreciated the fact that, like, yeah, they went 2-2. They had to play ball, but like they were focused on enjoying winning last year. And as much as I like to win and I want them to win every single game they play, it was cool to see a team really just enjoy celebrating a really awesome milestone.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now we move on.
Yeah, now it's time to get back down to business.
158 to go.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
2 and 2 ain't gonna cut it, boys. Let's go.
That's right.
Well, what were some of in terms of players? I want to get into a little bit of the stats for the weekend. Who were some of your standouts and who were some of your disappointments? Obviously, keeping in mind this is early. We've only been through 3 or 4 games for some of these guys. But does anyone stand out to you? I know we talked briefly about Matt Olson having 8 hits for the Braves. But does anyone else stand out? Any other
Byron
stand out?
Buxton.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That guy put a show on this weekend.
Yeah.
Even though their record might not show, that guy put on a show against the Mariners.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most probably series that people need to watch. With 2 teams that are going to be in that race all year, and I think what he did today was just first 2 at-bats, homers, just to start the day, and that helped the 10 runs they put up after that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, in the division, Chris Bassett threw a gem for his first start. I think it was game 2 for the Mets. I mean, dude looked like he was dealing. That's going to be a big pickup for them. I hate that he's in the division on that staff, but he looked pretty solid this weekend as well.
Who picked the Mets to win that division?
The only Orioles guy picked the Mets to win the division? Did he?
I think also if you look at just the Blue Jays offense as a whole,
Oh my gosh.
the amount of that ball was flying out of Rogers Center this weekend.
Yeah.
I think they're saying they're on pace to break the major league record possibly as a team for home runs.
Yeah.
They're on pace for it.
The stadiums they get to play in Division 2 will only help
100%.
break that record.
Yeah.
There were some hard hit balls.
Wait,
I know Giancarlo
they were already
hit a couple.
talking about that 4 runs in?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say
They were already talking about
They
that
hit
4 games in?
17.
They had
They're
7.
at 17.
Is it 7 or
17
17?
total. 17 homers already
Wait,
Yeah.
in the Rogers Center or for the Blue Jays?
for the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good weekend.
Yeah, that offense, and they got swag with it. The home run jacket, I mean,
Yeah.
again, we're already 4 games in, and they've already got some, swaggy celebrations. And like Ryan said, I mean, if you just look at Boston and New York alone, those stadiums are going to help them hit some home runs.
Yeah.
But let alone they're in Baltimore. So, again, that team's going to be scary for sure.
Yeah, and there were only 2 people who picked the Blue Jays, just so you're aware.
I was pleased to see the Rays take care of their weekend at the expense of the Orioles, unfortunately. But you have to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and they did that. So 3-0 for them on the weekend. I think as a whole, they look like what they needed to look like. So
The Rays are doing what the Rays do. They go out, they beat people, and they do it under the radar. They're nothing flashy, really. I mean, doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, Orioles are going to be fine.
Sure.
They're going to get down the road a little bit. They'll be okay.
Sure.
Their farm system's doing well this weekend, except for in Aberdeen where they left 33 guys on base in one night. So
I was gonna say define fine.
they won. They won.
They will win a game.
Yeah.
I think another surprise is just the Rockies winning 2 out of 3 already versus the Dodgers. That's when you talk about beating teams you're supposed to beat, is those 2 games could they come back to haunt the Dodgers later in the year?
Yeah.
Just wonder now.
That was in Colorado, right?
In Colorado, yeah.
And they mattered last year. So
Correct.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, they all matter. All 162 of them matter.
Yes.
That was going to be my point earlier when we were talking about sort of the pitchers getting used to and getting yanked. I mean, I know that there's sort of this dichotomy between do we throw guys out there and try to get wins, or do we pull them? But I think it's going to be a very interesting first week 2 weeks of the season, especially with the expanded roster, to see how these teams handle this. Because, yeah, I mean, we're talking about the end of the season. We always get down to it, and it's, a game here, a game there. And I know that it's early and everyone thinks that, but these games on April 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, they count just as much as the ones in September. So we'll see.
It's a little easier to schedule watch that kind of stuff, and like football, all of a sudden there's 1 or 2 games that matter, towards the end of a season. Baseball sometimes a little harder, but you can always come back to, I feel like, these first couple weeks of the season and circle some games. I think that in this case, the Dodgers especially, can't be dropping 2 out of 3 against the Rockies to start your season. So I think the same thing can be said if you go into the National League with the Cubs Brewers. I mean, the Brewers are an overwhelming favorite to win that division. The Cubs, I don't want to say they sold their team, but they got rid of some core pieces and didn't bring some people back. So I don't think people are expecting them to win this season, but for them to take 2 out of 3 against the Brewers and that pitching staff, I think, again, that's something that could also become important, down the road as well, especially considering the Cardinals did what they needed to do, winning 2 of the 3. So,
well, speaking of the Cardinals, did anyone have some nostalgia there, seeing Pujols in a Cardinals jersey again? Man, it was sick.
You got really him, Wainwright, and Molina, man. I mean, that's
it's so great.
Don't talk about running it back.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what was really weird for me this weekend was the announcement of the DH in the National League, and it was kind of no more kind of in your face than that Pujols introduction. When they were like, now batting number 5, your DH Albert Pujols, and it was like, wait a minute, like it's like you got to pinch yourself every time. Like, is this real? Like, yeah, it's actually happening. Like, it's in the, and I got to say, like, it was some really good baseball watching this weekend. Just like having guys come up in situations where the pitcher would have been in that spot, and it's still exciting. And you're not like, well, I guess they're going to get out of this jam because 3 pitches right down the middle, and we're going to go sit down. So I'm all for that. I'm super pumped.
No more Mike Boltonevich watching him swing at that. Cool. Lordy.
It does reduce the number of chances you can go to the fridge, but...
True.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask just some thoughts in general on this, too. I feel like this kind of flew under the radar a little bit. Drew, I think, maybe put it out in our text message chain a little bit. But how about the look and feel of these electronic signal calling devices that teams are using? I noticed a significant difference in the Braves-Reds series between Reds pitchers being ready to go and sometimes the Braves hitters almost feeling off guard at how fast the Reds were ready to go. Anybody have any thoughts on teams using these and all that?
The more it gets used, the better it's going to go. They're going to be going quick. Now, I know that the shortstop has an earpiece as well, and I know the pitcher has an earpiece, but he also has one on his glove or on his wrist, I believe. So I think it's going to make the game go a little bit quicker because you don't have to worry about going through chasing however many signs you normally are going to chase when you got runners on at second. And for all the Astro fans out there, you don't have to worry about stealing signs with nobody on base anymore.
Yep.
So, I mean, you saw it in the college game at first. I'm not using PitchCom in high school, but I'm using the number system in high school, telling my pitcher the number. He's checking it. You're going to start seeing it uptick a little bit. And, I mean, you're still going to have your traditionalists that say you need to put signs down. Okay, fine. But as you saw this weekend, some of the Reds hitters Reds pitchers ready to go, and our Braves hitters are like, we're not ready yet. We're not used to this.
Yeah.
But the more people use it, the more people get used to it, the better it's going to get. The more flow is going to happen.
I would love just to see one team like hold up the cards like they have in college football with the giant like fourth, like the catcher just hold that up instead of I think that would be great.
There you go. Full on play calls.
Well, so can I ask this question? I mean, I get that this is trying to basically speed up the game. I'm all for that. I understand that. But what? we've gone off the rails, guys. Robby is raising his hand for a question. Robby, hold on 1 second. Let me finish my comment, and then you can ask. You know what? Now that you just interrupted everything, why don't you just ask your question, Robby?
This question better be really good.
Oh, I'm excited.
You're just afraid of what I was going to write down next, Kenny.
Yes, I am.
Do you think it's the umpire's responsibility? Are they going to give hitters more time? Scotty, you said that some of the Braves hitters looked like they weren't quite ready. Do you think the umpires are going to roll with that and force these hitters to get back in the box? Or do you think they're going to try to speed up the people who don't use it? Because I could see that going both ways depending on the umpire. I wonder if they've been instructed on that.
Yeah. So I could see it going either way, to be honest. Where I think I saw the biggest, I guess, rush was after foul balls. Because there were a couple times where I saw a Reds pitcher very quickly after that foul ball was even hit. The pitcher didn't even have the ball back yet, and he slyly just pushed the button. So that pitcher already had the pitch by the time he even got the ball back. And so it was by the time the hitter did his routine, got back in the box, that pitcher's coming set, and they kind of look up oh, shoot, I've got to get ready to hit. And so that's where I saw the biggest kind of getting used to. I think to Drew's point, hitters will get used to this, and it will speed up hitters a little bit with that. But I think 100% there's a responsibility on the umpires. They can't have a guy already in the ready set position and a guy's just getting back in the box. There's going to have to be some policing when it comes to that part of it. So, and I don't think umpires will be able to speed up the people that aren't using it just because there isn't any type of clock or anything out there right now that would help determine, hey, you're being too slow, hey, you're not, being quick enough. So I think until that happens, but I'll say this, if all 30 teams get on board with this, I don't see a need for a pitch clock anymore. I mean, that Reds Braves game, man, the game I got to watch on ESPN2, we were booking. I was this is wild. So,
and that was going to lead into my next point. Was what are we talking here? How much time did we save? I don't know the overall time of the game, but over the course of 162 games, over the course of an entire season and 30 MLB clubs, are we really going to save or have an influence on that many games?
Yeah.
And
no, because you still have TV commercial breaks and all that nonsense.
Correct. So my thing is, what I hope does not happen is that this does not become a huge issue in the playoffs, because I have a feeling that it's not going to get policed until sort of towards the end of the season, and then we're going to have this flip of a switch, and somebody's going to be digging in, and they're going to be asking for time. It's going to be granted, not granted. It's going to be this awkward scenario, and then we're going to have this showdown between, which is, in my opinion, would be, inconsequential and shouldn't even be an issue if it was handled right now.
Like the infield fly rule?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, we're playing with fire here this early in the season, and somebody either needs to extinguish it or figure it out now, rather than in September.
I mean, so again, I will say, until you see it, I didn't see a Braves hitter caught off guard that a pitch was coming. It was just, you could tell they were there was some urgency of oh, I better get ready because this he's ready, he's already getting set. So again, I see where you're coming from. I 100% could see a pitcher trying to quick pitch a hitter at some point in an important game, and the whole time, no time granted, that could 100% come into play. But I think again, as the players get used to this being in the game, there's gonna no different than there is now. Kenny, as a hitter, you have a rhythm and a routine of how long it takes for a ball to get put back in play, the pitcher to rub it up, and for him to see signs.
Sure.
I think hitters will eventually get that rhythm to some degree after that. So
yeah, let's hope. I think my only point to that was that yes, you get that rhythm in your head, and you start to figure that out, and opening day's opening day. You're not super upset. You're not super high. You're not super low, one way or the other. But you start to get in positions where guys are a little bit ticked off because they're not hitting. You're in an 0 for 8 slump, 0 for 10 slump, and now you got some guy that's like working you quick. Like,
yeah,
I'm a little bit over it at that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. What I find fascinating is how much under the radar this went. Like, it was not talked about. It was not very heavy on social media. I had to do some digging just in terms of Google to figure out like what was happening with it. And to your point, Kenny, like I actually think there are 4 other receivers on the field. I think the second base and shortstop have one, and the center fielder.
So they can move.
So basically, you're allowed to have 4 in the field, and then what's going to be interesting is, again, the more pitching changes that we start to see, there's going to have to be some kind of transition because they're only allowed 5 transmitters. So that's going to also be interesting to see how that potentially slows the pace of play down. So
sure.
So, I'm only halfway kidding about this, but like, how long is it going to be until we're talking about somebody trying to hack into these systems and everything? Like, how long until we're talking about somebody that like actually access somebody's feed or whatever?
Oh, not long. It's gonna be within the next like 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, there's gonna be
because you got cameras. You got cameras looking right down on from the side that you can see what they're pressing, and as long as you have the system, you know what's pressing what. And I guess I don't know. I guess I would assume that people have different spots for different things, but if it's the same company with the same thing, everything means the exact same thing in every single spot. So it ain't going to take long to figure out that that guy just pressed fastball away.
Well, I'm also talking about like accessing like the frequency for like the actual talking.
Yeah, for sure. It's coming down the pike. Just keep your eye on the Astros and see what they're doing. And
Yankees.
They'll be ahead of the
Yankees.
curve.
Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees too. Yeah. Dodgers.
Well, the article that I found said that only 20 teams had agreed to do this with the MLB. So it's not all 30 teams currently. And I'll say, based on watching, I don't think the Braves opted into this because I still feel like I saw signs being given in that game. So
yeah, do we have a list of the 20 that are doing it?
I couldn't find it. So you can check the Reds as a team that are doing it because I watched it. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, like in college and high school and things like that, most of the time a pitching coach is going to make the call on like pitches and stuff like that. So who's calling these pitches? I mean, pitching coaches aren't calling pitches from the dugout in the pro game.
Catcher. Catcher's got the sleeve right here.
It's just like wearing an Apple Watch.
It's like a regular wristband. It's like a wristband, just like you would like the flip. Yeah. Like you would like a QB wrist coach.
It's honestly about the size of a phone.
Yeah, it's like that big. Yeah. And it's just pressing a button.
I think it's got 9 buttons on it.
Yes.
So.
Well, I'm sorry. Drew, I know you mentioned this a little bit, but you said that there was a traditionalist aspect of it. I think this gets back to my original quote of that the players are not allowed to police the game. And this is a culmination of the players not being allowed to police the game. And what I mean by that is, and this is probably going to get obliterated, but in my opinion, what should have happened with the Astros is what happened to the Astros. There was no repercussions for what they were doing. Nothing happened to them in regards to stealing signs in an unfair manner. And what I mean by that is, for those of you who don't know, if you're on second base or you're on first base and the catcher's just throwing down one sign or whatever, and you want to steal the sign and give it to your hitter, by all means. If a guy's tipping his pitches and his gloves in a different position from throwing a fastball, by all means, have at it. Now, if it's allowed to be policed by the players and the umpires can't step in, whatever, blah, 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 I don't think we're in this situation where we are right now. So that's a little bit where I have an issue with it. And I'd love to see us just get back to the traditional baseball game and let the players take care of it. I know we're not going to go that way now at this point, but it's just a little bit it just stinks. It just absolutely stinks, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, we could go on to this for like 30 minutes, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But where I like it better in the major leagues than I do in the college level is the catcher still calling the pitches. And again, I don't being around some, I don't know of in the past how many big universities were allowing their catchers to call pitches anyway, but there is the fear of losing the art of calling a game, right? But I think in this way that it's doing, the major league catchers are still calling the game, so it's not changing that aspect of it. I, for one, enjoyed the fact of, like, we don't have to worry about it's the third sign every other pitch when there's a runner on second base, and then if you step off twice, it means we're going to go to the first sign. Like, just like it took some of that process out.
That's the art of the game, man. That's the art of baseball.
No, trust me, I love a guy, a third base coach, a catcher who can give some signs, and I was pretty blessed growing up with Drew coaching, and Drew, I mean, he is quite a gifted sign giver. And then of course Robby. I mean, Robby as well. Robby has a system to this day that I still can't crack in terms of his, like, runner on second, and sometimes it's the most obvious things that are there, and so
Albuquerque.
But,
is it raining in Atlanta, guys?
But yeah, it's I don't know. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't know how much we're losing out of it. That's all I would say.
Yeah.
The catcher's still calling the game. Are you losing the art of a catcher being able to give good signs so that the guy on second base can't steal them? Sure. And that's its own.
Yeah, but what you're taking away is the players on the field being able to play the game within the game. So
that's
the sign things. The reason that everybody gets all up in arms, and I haven't actually heard anybody articulate it like this before. When people off the field or outside of the dugout, people operating a video system, people operating a whatever the Astros had up under their jerseys, when there are people outside of the coaches and players who are in the dugout and on the field doing stuff, that's when it crosses the line. If you have simple enough signs where a guy on second can figure out you're throwing a fastball, that's on you. But that man's on the field playing in the game.
Yep.
I think that on the field part goes to, and Robby, you'll know this, as the manager, the head coach, your job's to make sure your guys are all on the same page, but also to make sure that nobody else knows what's going on from the other team.
Yeah.
And I think you see a lot of that in the college game. I know when we play, what we do when we give our signs, I mean, our guys all have wristbands. I give a number. My pitcher gets it. My catcher gets it. Everybody on the field gets it. They're all on the same page. We never put down a sign. All our guys know what's going on, but the other team has no clue. Do we switch our cards out every game? Yes. So if you come to one game, you're not going to get the same set of numbers the next game. But that's my job as the manager, as the head coach, is to make sure my guys are in the best position and know exactly what's going on, and the other team doesn't have a clue.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point to end on that. I 100% agree with that articulation of it for sure.
I'm gonna jump into a little bit of college baseball. Did anyone see sort of the George Brett re-impersonation from the UCF Memphis game? I saw this before we hopped on, and it was awesome. If you have a chance, go check it out. Basically, the exact same incident happened. A kid from UCF, and I hope I don't get this wrong, a kid from Central Florida, they were playing Memphis, hit a bomb, goes around the plate, touches home plate, goes in the dugout. They take his bat up, and they call him out because the pine tar is too high. They actually go back to the plate, measured the bat on the plate like they did back in the 1980s. It was great. And the coach from UCF lost it, and I mean lost it, and it was great. He lost it on the other team. Oh, it was epic. So if you have a chance, go look at it. But it brought back some good memories from the old school days and the feisty George Brett. Give a little shout out to
I actually had a middle school coach in our middle school game go over and have two of our bats thrown out because they were not up to high school standards. in a 6th and 7th grade baseball game.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
So I guess I have a quick question about this.
Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
I was just so what's the deal with that rule? Maybe I'm just naive and never looked it up, but why does that matter?
Well, so I've heard this a couple ways. I never actually know this, but especially with the wood bats, if you put pine tar on the ash bats, it would literally seal the there's an indention in ash bats that you see that's like a groove there, and it would seal those up, causing the bat less likelihood to flake. And then it basically compounds the wood, making it harder, and basically allows you to hit the ball further. Right? It's a harder wood than previous. So your theory is that's obviously you're talking about a wood bat that you're hitting on the barrel right here, right? Yeah. And they're talking about the pine tar being down here, and it's irrelevant at that point. But I think it's just hysterical that we're getting into this argument. So that's essentially what it is. And I think, Drew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Robby, if you guys know the exact rule, but essentially I think it's 18 inches from the bottom of the barrel. Is that right?
18 inches from the knob, I believe.
From the knob, sorry. From the knob. So you can't have pine tar above that 18-inch line. Now, people push it all the time. It's never really adhered to.
Never.
I'd be shocked if you took everyone's bat that came up to the plate who had pine tar on it and be below 18 inches, but that's just what I saw, and it was kind of hysterical.
So I thought you were actually going to talk about the Vanderbilt. I thought you were going to talk about the Vanderbilt Tennessee game where the same type of situation happened.
Yes, and but it was sticker.
But it was the sticker of being approved in that game, which again now you're getting that one I kind of agree with, but at the same time I'm kind of also like, why wasn't it checked? So that one feels a lot more fishy to me than pine tar on a metal bat.
Well, what's funny is
they won't check. They don't check equipment before the game in college. They won't check it before the series.
They check it before the series.
They check it before the series, but
correct. So yeah, it used to.
And it's not a good check either. They don't go inspect each bat. They just walk by them.
Well, they got to be if they're putting stickers on them.
Well, yeah. So, and I don't know. This was obviously 10 years ago now at this point. But yeah, when we used to go play, you had to put your bats out that you were going to use on the fence, and the umpires would come by. And they made kind of a big stink of it. All three of them would come by and check your bats and check your gloves and all kinds of good stuff. So, I mean, it's not just a glance of the eye and okay, it's all good. But they would check. They'd randomly pull a couple bats. I mean, it's not just a check and go. So, yeah, it was shocking to me with that one too. It's just hysterical that the depths will go to if you're getting beat.
Well, the other thing, now they're going into SEC, especially with college, they're checking more routinely, the umpires are now. And I know today, watching Tennessee and Wichita State, one of Tennessee's batters came up, and Wichita State catcher didn't see the sticker and asked the umpire to request a check and found the sticker, obviously. But,
sure.
I mean, if that's what you're coming to, come on now.
Yeah. Well,
but it is what it is. It's the number one team in the country that's won 23 games in a row. I mean, they're pretty good for a reason.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yes, greatest today.
It's the gamesmanship though, right? Obviously you're gonna wait till after it's over, after a home run's happened, and then you're gonna be like, oh, I need you to check that. Oh yeah, it's actually illegal, so he's out. At least Wichita State did it mid at bat and was like, hey man.
Yeah. Kudos.
Maybe that coach needs to talk to that catcher.
Exactly.
Speaking of college ball, did you guys see my alma mater stealing home in a blinding snowstorm?
Blizzard. I think Virginia Tech, Asheville, both of those this weekend had to play in the snow.
I don't think Asheville did. Asheville.
So they played A&T at home this weekend.
That might have been the game they lost because the last 2 days it didn't look like they were playing in the snow.
Well, I can tell you this. I can attest to that. I've been in Blacksburg where it's been 50 degrees and sunny in the same game, and then it's also been 32 degrees and snowing sideways. So it's one heck of a place, that Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, you gotta keep everybody on their toes with the weather. So.
Well, Berrick, I hate to put you on the spot, but any takeaways from the Orioles this year from the weekend? What are you looking forward to as an Orioles fan?
Fast start. Off to a good one. It's funny. They were already talking about the best thing from the weekend being Grayson Rodriguez's start. So, when we're talking about the best thing from opening weekend being somebody not on the major league roster, that's concerning. I will like to say I was playing the show earlier, and I think we've won like 3 or 4 games out of 50 so far. So I'm just hoping we do better than that. If we do better than that, I'll be okay. And I was like, I'm gonna play some video games to make me feel better about things, because that's, you can make your team, inflated a little bit. But no, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Let me get this straight. You're through 50 games. You guys are 3-47.
I don't really want to talk about it, but yeah, we are.
Lord.
We're gonna make a little section on this podcast called the Orioles Crying Hour or something good here. So
it's not like their schedule gets any easier playing the Brewers.
Right? It can only go up from here.
No, you got the Brewers next, so it doesn't go up from here.
No.
They're talking about too, like Jordan Lyles, I think, started on a Saturday, and they're like, well, he made it past 4 innings, so he's eating innings.
Oh man!
All right, friends. Here we go through the first 50 games of the Orioles.
I didn't want to pull it out. I was literally thinking of like, what is the number? Is it like 49.5? Where do we sit with the Orioles over under this year? Actually, can anybody quick fact check me? How many wins did the Orioles have last year?
Yes, Kenny, hold on.
They had
if only we had a diehard Orioles fan.
I know.
52 and 110 last year.
I was gonna say I thought it was 54, but okay, 52.
All right, so let's make it 52.5. Are they going to have a better season than last year, or a worse season than 2020?
It's gonna be over, just because they're gonna have better talent than last year at some point. Not right now, but at some point they will have better talent on the team. So it's gonna be over.
Trade deadline acquisitions there, Barry?
No. It's when they bring up when Adley's
Oriole this year?
Vegas has what I just pulled up. Vegas has 62.5 is the over under.
Yeah, so it's gonna be better than last year, I think, but it's not gonna be that.
All right.
They're losing 100 games for sure. So Vegas, I'm taking the under on that all day.
Yeah, because that puts them at what? That puts them right at like the 100 loss mark, right?
Yeah, basically 62 and 100.
Yeah,
They are for sure losing 100 games this year.
Is our over under going to be 52 and a half, or are we going to stick with the Vegas line here?
I don't know. Let's meet in the middle and say 56.5.
I'm still going over.
Ooh. I'm gonna say under. All right, we got Robby's gonna take both sides, and he's gonna take even money. Okay, he's going over. Robby's going over. All right, cool. I like it. All right, this is good. This is good, guys. This is good.
Put it in the spreadsheet.
Put it in the spreadsheet.
You heard it here first. The Orioles are going to come out of the All-Star break on fire.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of the Orioles, when's the next year they're relevant in baseball?
2025.
Honestly, that probably sounds about right. It's probably going to be another 2-3 years. Just because, you guys know better than anybody. It's not just about getting the right guys up there. They got to get seasoned in 2030.
I'm surprised you didn't put
trying to
like
sell antidepressant pills, Robby. What are we trying to do over here?
Robbie's pulling the whole. We got to get out of the current roster additions that we can
Well-
actually fill in the NCAA rosters.
There you go.
We got to have a whole new crop of people coming through here.
1971. That's
I
good.
mean, in all honesty, I know
Jim
this is all
Palmer,
fun and
baby.
games right now, but seriously,
Jim
they do
Palmer.
have some guys.
Yeah.
Shut up about Jim Palmer. They got some dudes in the
Drew,
minor league
we
system that are
all
actually
know
pretty good.
They do.
Drew, we all know you coached Connor Norby, and he is a
Yes.
top prospect for the
Yes.
Orioles.
He's coming.
Sorry.
He's coming. Yeah, he
I
did
know.
400 the first
You got to
weekend.
have more than a second baseman.
They got an outfielder. They've got a really good arm. They've got a third baseman. So I mean, that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, they will at some point, but
They got a
going to be
franchise catcher too. So
it's going to be 2-3 years before, and even then, I would say in 2 to 3 years. I mean, does anybody really think the Yankees and Red Sox and Rays are all going to be terrible? I mean, it's still going to be an uphill battle, but they'll at least be worth turning the TV on in 2 or 3 years.
That was going to be my question: is can we define the term relevant?
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause it's-
not
It might-
finishing
I was thinking
Playoff
going
contender.
to the playoffs. Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
playoff contender.
yeah.
Because it might be 2030 before they win a division.
The question
But-
for me though is like, is
Yeah, but
Elliott's
what's
going to get the chance to go that long? Because I know a lot of people are getting really like kind of, he was preaching, trust the system because everybody loves to use that term when they suck. See the Philadelphia 76ers. But people are starting. I really think people are starting to get a little restless. Even people that really were behind him. So the question is going to be if he gets enough time to actually see this through, whether it's whether it works or not. Is he going to get a chance to do it, or is he going to get the boot and then somebody else comes in and now we're starting all over with a new group? So
Sure. I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll be relevant sooner rather than later, but maybe not 2025. I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see.
I mean, it's all going to depend on if they'll keep that pipeline of talent.
Yeah, for sure.
If a team is out there that's kind of wanting to dump some salary or something like that, or a guy, and or there's a team wanting to make a run at one of those prospects,
Yeah, good
you
luck.
know, it's gonna be interesting.
I can say that like with the exception of probably like the Blue Jays and maybe the Rays, like the rest of like the Yankees, the Red Sox, those guys are getting older too. So it's like when you
True.
bring in the youth, like give them a year or two, let them get their feet wet, then I think that's when you'll start to see them flourish. As long as like the core of that system is able to stay together.
And I think the other thing is, if they ever create, and I know we've talked about this before, but if they ever create a salary floor, if they create a floor to force the Orioles to spend some money to bring in some higher payroll guys, that might also change the tune a little bit too.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, that was going to be my
That
joke
would
when he
be
talked about the
good.
MLB The Show. Like, there is nothing more glaring of an issue of having a $33 million payroll than playing a video game. Because holy cow!
Yep.
Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, it still baffles me that Mike Scherzer makes more money than four other teams total payrolls. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
Agreed.
crazy to me.
Agreed.
There are some, switching gears there are some pretty interesting series coming up this week. Just to kind of touch on those real quick before we run out of time.
Yeah.
So, Braves have an interesting week. 3 games against the Nats, 4 games on the road against the Padres. So that'll be fun. And then next week, this is technically creeping into next week, but they go 4 against the Padres on the road, straight into 3 against the Dodgers on the road.
Ooh.
So that's a fun stretch there. The Mets and Phillies start their first series of the season, so that's going to be fun to watch them kind of beat up on each other this week. Mariners White Sox, I think that's a sneaky American League.
Very entertaining series right
Entertaining series. So,
there. Padres Giants.
yep.
Blue Jays, Yankees
Yep.
in the
Yes.
Bronx.
Bomb
Yep.
fest.
that's going to be a lot of home run action.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of home runs hit that series.
In that
Yeah,
series.
and Drew, did you confirm that earlier? There was 7 in 3 games.
Seven.
not
It is
17?
7.
7 and
It is
3.
7.
I think there were 13 combined between the two teams in 3 games.
Got it. Yeah.
But yeah, their 7 in 3 games is still on pace for a lot of home runs in 162.
I think my Orioles team on the show has 7 and 50. So
I was actually just getting ready to ask the question over under 13.5 home runs the Orioles have by 50 games, but I didn't want to pile on, Berrick. I'm sorry.
And then once we get to the weekend spread of games, we've got Angels-Rangers. That's going to be a fascinating series. We got Rays-White Sox. I'm really interested about that series.
Bullpen heavy.
Cardinals-Brewers and Twins-Red Sox.
Talking about the Twins, I mean, oh, wow. That's fun.
I mean, if you see some of the arms they have coming out, like the rookies, they're going to be pretty good.
The Twins are a weird, fun team to watch.
Yes.
And Correa demolished the ball today that still hasn't landed yet.
So did Gary Sanchez.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Correa's was in the 3rd deck. So, for those of you that hadn't seen it,
Tell you what,
have
man.
fun.
If Sanchez could catch at all, he would be a top 2 catcher in the big leagues. I mean, if he could hold on to the baseball at
Robbie,
all,
Here we go.
Robbie, you and I can catch better than
such
him.
a good hitter. He is such a good hitter. If he could,
why not
if
DH
he
him?
would,
Yeah, why not DH him? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
who needs him to catch?
When he was with the Yankees, you got the DH. How hard can it be?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, they're paying a guy $35 million a year to be their DH right now, so that was the problem in New York.
Right.
Well, that's their fault.
But no, I'm excited for some baseball this coming up week. It's going to be a fun week. I think the Braves definitely going to be matched. They start the week off with the Nationals, so just kind of bringing it full circle. We got to beat the teams that we need to beat, so for sure need to take 2 out of 3 from that series.
Just win series, man.
If not sweep it. So 2 out of 3 for sure, though. So
Yeah.
Just win series. Just
Who do
win.
we have going? We have the Braves have undecided for game 2.
Noah's going for one of them.
Noah's going in game 1. Nice. Okay. Cool. Sweet. Well, we're
I'd love to
closing
see
in
a
on an
repeat
hour.
of last start in DC.
Yeah. Well, it's in Atlanta, right?
Anybody remember what happened there? No, I know.
That was where he-
Last start against DC. I think that's when he went. He had like 6 shutout innings to hit a grand slam.
oh
Yeah, I'll take that again. That's fine.
Absolutely.
well,
Sign-
he's not
sign
going to hit a grand slam, but
No, that's not going to happen. But somebody else could.
yeah.
I don't know. They couldn't let him hit.
Blessings.
It'd be nice for Dansby to get on track. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's early.
I mean,
It's early.
It's early. Early. That's right. It's early.
I feel like anything that's good, it's like, oh, he's gonna be the best player ever. Nah, but if he's hitting bad, it's early, man. It's fine. It's fine. Cool. Well, we're hitting
The
the
best
hour
part
mark.
about this part of the season.
Exactly. You have
That's
some
right.
sort of excuse. So we're about the hour mark. I'm gonna close this with the last couple thoughts, but then just for all of you listening out there, we are going to do sort of a fantasy weekly draft between the 6 of us or the 5 of us. And so
Ryan's not playing.
that's right. Ryan's not playing. So between the 5 of us, Berrick, Scotty, Robby, Drew, and Kenny are going to play a little fantasy weekly draft action. We're going to pick a pitcher, 3 outfielders, and every 9 positions in a DH. And then we are going to see who comes out on top over the season-long race. We will post our picks in the show notes so you all can follow along. Outside of that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please hit us up. First to third pod at gmail.com, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that correct?
That is
The
correct.
podcast. So first to third, and that's first FIRST, 2, the numerical 2, third THIRD, pod at gmail.com. With any questions, comments, concerns, we'll get to those next week potentially if we have any. Gents, this was a blast. Everyone, thanks for joining us. If you were, pass it along to your friends. And yeah, we're excited for the journey, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Cheers, everyone.
Shout out to all the people listening on
Peace.
YouTube.
That's right. Appreciate you.